All right. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded any videos, true uploads as opposed to doing live streaming. And that's because my main computer basically crapped the bed. So the laptop that I was fortunate enough to have someone gift to me, a much appreciated gift, allows me to have the processing power to live stream. Recording, it'll do it, but I have to lower the resolution considerably on games like Warships. So I've just been doing live streaming. Hopefully soon, either through company bonuses or through our government here in the good old US of A, not being partially shut down and my tax returns being processed by the evil empire of the IRS will get me the money to build a brand spanking new, all new components, gaming and video editing computer. But well, I am kind of here to talk about that, but more importantly, I'm here to talk about, let me get this opened up here. There is, if you missed it, Steve Jackson Games had a Kickstarter and I did one video on it, to restart and relaunch the Fantasy Trip gaming system that he came up with in the late 1970s, early 1980s, that was put out by Metagaming, and then due to ownership issues, Metagaming bought the game out from him entirely, and then Metagaming kind of disappeared. And Steve Jackson couldn't put the game out because Metagaming owned it and wouldn't give up the rights, and he finally got them back. That Kickstarter is closed, but Steve Jackson Games put out, I believe now, 2 PDF adventures that are published for this game system, and the response was positive enough that they are going to release in book form, I believe softcover, those 2 adventures, an upcoming 3rd, and an additional 2 all packaged together. So they're doing a Kickstarter to fund this. Now, they just had an update for the Fantasy Trip Kickstarter, the one that's closed, and I'll scroll through some images here and try and get them to sync up relatively well with the audio here. Doing this all on my phone. Hopefully it's not too crap audio, but then again I'm using a headset when I'm live streaming and the audio on it isn't the hottest. But they, for the Fantasy Trip, they released their 105th update. They went over to China to look at the packaging, all the final materials, original artwork, stacks and stacks of mega hexes in their boxes, which is the game map system uses a hexagonal system. Very beautiful looking 14 hex dragons. The biggest dragon previously in game back in the day was a 7 hex dragon. There's now a 14 hex dragon made out of a nice heavy cardstock that you'll punch out. More mega hexes. Those are the mega hexes where you can punch them out, combine them, turn, like you can see hallways there, larger areas, tunnels, rooms, etc. And I went with the I want it all option on this Kickstarter. And this is leading somewhere to the Fantasy Trip Adventures Kickstarter that is open now. But I'm teasing you right now. So there's the standalone games, Melee and Wizard, that I got a couple copies of for going in on the I Want It All Fantasy Trip Kickstarter. And there's Melee and Wizard. And I also am getting the Game Master's Guide with the awesome cephalopod necromancer. Character sheets for both characters and NPCs. The reissue of Death Test will be boxed in its own box. And the box for the Fantasy Trip Legacy, I Want It All, etc. is really massive and impressive. And I am looking forward to seeing that arrive on my doorstep. Now, let's see, more character. Oh, so there's also like pre-generated character cards, etc., etc. I mean, go look. I'll include links for both. So, the Fantasy Trip Adventures, as I was saying, is 2 of the PDF adventures that are available over in Warehouse 23. And then, as I'm reading it, there's one in the works right now that will be a PDF adventure, and you can just buy them as a PDF if you want. But they're going to combine those 3 and come up with another 2 and publish them in an actual book form, along with some other stuff, and that's where I'm getting to. So there's the 3 adventures, and it says, there's 2 published adventures, the Chaos Triads, and then there's also the Curse of Katiki Mu, which, being a guy who likes tiki stuff, it's very funny that they worked in tiki into the fantasy system that I enjoy. And there's an upcoming adventure to be included in this that they have called The Fire in the Temple, which is being worked on now, but there will be 2 more to be revealed in February. But the cool thing is, part of this, so the Kickstarter is for that. And I'll give a link to that one too, and you can see exactly what you'll get. But they are allowing the option of add-ons. And for the add-ons, you can, since you missed out on the Kickstarter for the Fantasy Trip, not only get the Fantasy Trip Adventures softcover book, you can add on Death Test, you can add on a dice set, and the ones that I'm really enjoying and have to really think about are the maps, and they are neoprene, they're cloth backed with neoprene. So these are pretty substantial maps for both Melee and Wizard. You can also add on the retro box style of Melee and Wizard. Then you can also, and this is why I'm really putting this up here, is if you missed out on the Kickstarter and you're kicking yourself, no pun intended, you can order for $120 one copy of the Legacy Edition box set, including Melee, Wizard, In the Labyrinth, and more, which you can see exactly what the Legacy box set will get you by looking at the original Kickstarter. Again, links will be down there. Or if you want to, you can just order a copy of the game system book, the Fantasy Trip, or the companion as well. So that's why I'm putting this up here. If you missed out on the Kickstarter, if you're a fantasy gamer, you like role play, I would suggest seriously considering checking this offer out. At the very least, you could just get the Melee and Wizard, dip your toes in. I'd say get Death Test because it's a pre-programmed adventure. Those 3 right there should be able to get you into the game and up and running and able to do a whole myriad of things and run successful campaigns and entertaining campaigns. But if you get the Fantasy Trip book in with that, there's a whole series of additional information on spells, abilities, the game system, ideas, monsters, yada, yada, yada. So you can get in on something that was closed, and I would recommend it. So there we go. Everybody have a good day, and hopefully soon I'll have a new computer. Bye.